Hey team, welcome back to another incredible episode of the Intentional Agribusiness Leader Podcast. This is your host, Mark Jewell, and today I am joined by my beautiful wife, Christine Jewell. She heads up all of our executive coaching here at the Momentum Company. And something came up in a call that just sort of caught me off guard this morning. We were walking and talking while it happened, and so we decided to sit down today and make a podcast directly for you guys. And so I'm going to queue up what happened, and we'll let Christine talk a little bit, and it's going to be a great show. So I texted a CEO of a cooperative out here in the ag space, and I do this. I have this little ritual every morning. I just go out and I go for my walk, and I just see who the Lord is putting on my heart, and I just send notes of encouragement. Mm-hmm. And this morning I sent a little bit of a verse and a little bit of inspiration. Mm-hmm. And what I said was, warriors don't fight for victory. Warriors of God don't fight for victory. They fight from victory.
Correct.
That was the note of encouragement I sent to this particular CEO along with some other language. And I got back. I heard back almost immediately. I mean, within a few minutes, right? When you think in CEO terms, to get a thoughtful response back this quickly is really something. He said, "Wow, like you don't know how much I needed to hear that today."
Yeah.
He's like, "These are some tough times. We're going to get through it.
Yeah.
But these are some tough times." And that spurred a conversation that has now created this podcast. And so
how many people do you think are saying, man, it's tough times. It's really hard. It's hard to get good people. It's hard what we're going through. I'm just curious of the people that you're talking to right now, how often does the word hard and this energy and this state come up?
I've heard a number of times on the podcast lately, hey, or I'm not on the podcast, excuse me, in sales conversations and coaching conversations, working with salespeople, I'm hearing things commonly right now, like, hey, we're being asked to trim back or pull back, in our budget for this year. We're looking for ways to save money. I'm hearing a lot of pushback at the farm gate with some of our sellers that are going through sales training and coaching right now. Like they're struggling to get the time and attention and the dollars of the people that they're trying to sell to.
So what specifically are they saying?
Right now there's obviously a correction going on in the ag market. It's a bit of a tough time. We don't know what the end horizon is going to be. There's a lot of uncertainty, right? So we're hearing a lot of this, especially leaders like dealing with uncertainty.
Yeah. The feeling is uncertainty.
Correct.
And it's being communicated in their tone and their language and everything else, right?
Yeah. Yep. That is a lot. Now, at the same rate, there's a lot of encouraging things, and people are still looking to make investments in their teams, and they know that they got to do right by their people. There's well-intended, strategies, but I feel like a lot of those dollars are getting scrutinized because they're feeling the pressure.
Yeah.
Right. And when you experience a correction, that means you're getting corrected.
Ooh, you're experiencing a pruning or whatever. Okay. So the reason why I wanted to do this, or we were talking about what's really helpful right now, because I think that during times of pressure, during times of correction, during times of pruning, or what some people would perceive hardship, I think a lot of people are just looking to either grind it out, just hunker down and get through it.
Hunker down and grind.
Give me some tactical ways to just like get through this thing. Like they're looking for just things that they can do, that they can grasp onto, like just to get through it.
So what can I do about it?
What can I do about it? Or I'm just going to grind through it, or it is what it is. I can't change it. And so really the reason why I wanted to jump on here is like, yes, those things are true to some level, to some people, but I really wanted to speak to the leaders out there and have this conversation between the two of us, because we don't realize, and again, those of you listening is like, I'm on here because I work on people's psychology, the way that they think, the energy that you hold. I think we don't realize how much power our emotional state holds over our ability to execute sustainably at high levels or to be totally exhausted. We don't understand the power of the reality that we choose to focus on. And so what we hear a lot of times is like, man, it's really hard, but we're going to get through it. And what people are like, they think that they're being like positive. They think that like, oh no, but I have a good outlook. but everything else about them,
Yeah.
their energy, their tone, their words, their actions are screaming survival and pressure.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of like you're trying to drive a car forward, but you keep grinding, you keep missing the mark on the shift, right? I'm thinking of a 5-speed or whatever, a manual, but it's like you accidentally keep bumping the thing into neutral or even reverse or park.
Right. So you're trying to make progress.
You're
but
trying
you're
to make progress,
sabotaging at
but
the
you
same
don't
time.
realize how much everything that you're doing, thinking, talking is actually creating greater resistance.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so I know you have a lot of interviews with people and everybody's offering their leadership. And I think that's amazing. What I wanted to do is really come on here and challenge people to think differently.
That's why
And it ain't for everybody.
that's why you're here, because and one of the reasons I'm looking forward to the conversation. I'm looking forward to hearing what people receive from this conversation that you and I are about to have, because you're a perspective shifter.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is one of the things when you and I sit down and we're like working on marketing, like, well, what would you say you do here?
Yeah.
Right. When we do our own little Doge efforts, what do you say you do?
Mm-hmm.
How do you describe me? Right.
Mm-hmm.
One of the ways I describe you is a perspective shifter.
Yeah.
Right. I might be head down, like grinding on something, working on the business or working on whatever in my own way, in the way that I, get into my just dude mind, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
all in trying to make this thing happen the way I know how. Right. And you'll walk into the room, you're like, well, what do you, why don't you look at it this way? Or what do you think about looking at it this way?
Mm-hmm.
And it often pisses me off because I'm like not ready for the feedback, but then you're like, when I finally take time to look at it from that perspective, I'm like, dang it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like there's some
Mm-hmm.
truth, right, to what you're
Mm-hmm.
saying that actually makes whatever that thing I was grinding on
Mm-hmm.
actually easier.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for people to get a dose of what I get on the daily.
Okay, so I want to talk about a couple of things and then we'll unpack them. Yes, perspective shifts. Your reality is what you focus on, period.
Right.
Because what you focus on creates more of this emotions that you make decisions from. And every time you make a decision or you act on something, you get a result. And the result creates an experience. So now we have, oh, look, this is my experience. And we talk a lot about the story framework, in our coaching.
So like what you focus on expands.
What you focus on expands. And it sounds like a cute little card, but the reality is that at any given moment in time, there are multiple realities going on. There are multiple experiences. And that means that there are multiple outcomes available to all of us. And so I want to speak specifically to those people who are like, yeah, Christine, you don't understand. Like what we're going through, that's different. It's hard for us right now. And I just want to preface this by saying, I know we're talking to ag right now, people in the ag industry, and we could say, oh man, the ag industry is really getting it. And I want to say, I work with people in finance. I work with people in tech. I work with people in ag. I work with people in the housing industry. And every single person that I talk to that's in those industries thinks and has the same story, which is, man, you don't understand, because what we're going through, it's different. Like nobody's going through the same thing.
Yeah.
Is that true? Is it not true? It's true to them. And here's the thing. We are all having our own unique experience. So to some respect, that is true. I'm not experiencing the same reality you are right now, but is it true that what I'm going through is way worse than what you're going through? It's just so much relativity. So I just, first of all, want to just challenge that right out the gate and say, what if it's not that special?
Whoa.
What if what you're going through is actually not that special, but it's an opportunity for you to put some new lenses on, to innovate, to do things differently than everyone around you is, not to accept the status quo and settle into this place of survivalist mentality or grinding it out or just hunkering down and getting through it. So first of all, I wanted to start off by saying, what if what we're going through isn't that unique? Actually, it's unique to us. And is it possible that a lot of people right now in every industry, to be quite honest, every single industry and mountain of influence is going through restructuring? Okay. A lot of rapid innovation, a lot of contraction of the old ways of things working, which is forcing new ways of doing things.
Right.
And so if you're white-knuckling, holding on to the way things used to be or trying to hold your breath, those are the people who experience suffering the longest. So I want to just start with...
Say that again.
if you are white knuckling, holding on to the way things used to be, we just got to get back to, how it was last year, last quarter, last 5 years ago. There's a lot of people who are literally, you're like treading water in a current that's moving one direction, and you keep trying to go back to the old place. And it's like, guess what? The water's not going that way anymore. Are you understanding how to read the currents and read the trend and move with the water? Because if you understand, number one, where's their movement? Where is their opportunity? Which way's the wind blowing? I'm not going to try to swim upriver all the time and exhaust myself in the process. I'm not going to white knuckle holding on to something that maybe is a sinking ship. When it's like, oh, I can let go of this thing and let the river carry me. And we hear this all the time. The greatest opportunities come when?
During times of contraction.
When everyone else is contracting, right?
Yeah.
When the market is collapsing, when businesses are contracting, when it feels like winter to some people. And I mean, we're in springtime right now in terms of outdoor seasons, but that's the time of the greatest transfers of wealth, the greatest opportunity, the highest levels of innovation. The most things get created during these types of seasons.
Right.
And yet there are so many people who are just drop into survival mode, are holding their breath, treading water, which literally shuts off their ability to access the part of their brain, which innovates, creates, problem solves from inspiration, not desperation, and can see trends.
Yeah. So, which by the way, I just want to take a quick moment here, 10 minutes in, 11 minutes into this show, and to say, like, if that's something that you want to see more of with your people, right? You want to see more of that with your teams, then you have to get them to the Thriving Leader. Shameless plug.
Plug.
Here's why. Like, what did Josh say about his people coming back from the national event 2 weeks ago?
Well, it's absolutely true. And we're talking about one of the ways, if you guys want tactical things, is we have to get people out of the familiar environment. Wherever somebody goes to work the same way, they're having the same conversations. It's the same sales conversations. It's the same pressure cooker. All they can think is the way that they've always thought, because the brain always chooses the path of least resistance. Now, if the pressure's on, even more the body wants to conserve energy. So it's just going to repeat what it knows. You can beat people over the head all day long with new content, new information. But if it's the same old environment, environmental triggers override that. So one of the most powerful things, and I was going to talk about state shifting, is taking people outside of the familiar environment, getting them out of the familiar space and dropping them, boom, into a new experience. That all of a sudden, what happens in that experience? Their eyes are open. They're hearing different levels of conversations. They're physically experiencing different things. Like, there's a lot of newness. There's some challenges. There's some invitations to think differently. There's some think tanks, and everything right now gets sort of like shaken up. And it forces those new neural pathways to start forming. It opens up perspective. It gets them from one side of their brain, which is very primal and just like, I just need to survive and get through today. And it starts to open up the parts of our brain that have those creative centers, that see creative solutions that we can't see when we're in the trenches, like a foot soldier. A foot soldier is just running from the grenades. You're just like, don't step on the grenade, don't step on the grenade, just get through this minefield. But a general has a different view of the land. And we need our people to come up for air to be able to see things differently. And so, first of all, I just want to say that, yes.
Well, that's a really
that's
profound.
Why we have Thriving Leaders.
Rewind the episode about 90 seconds and go back to listen to what Christine just said there, because that's really profound. First of all, what did Josh say?
Oh yeah, sorry.
So Josh he's in our executive coaching program at the highest level. He has been working with us. His company's been with us for about 3 or 4 years. Independent ag retailer in Illinois. They've grown substantially. He's been on the show, but they're about 115, 120-ish employees in their organization. What did he say on your call about the people who just came back from the event?
Yeah,
this is important for what we're talking about.
I think
today.
they sent 5 or 6 guys, or
I think 7. Yeah.
Okay. So they had 7 guys come, and I've been working with Josh. I absolutely love him because he's a great leader and I'm totally invested in the people. But what I loved was I asked him, I always say, what's the evidence of the work? Where are you winning? What's going right? And he said, man, Those guys came back from that event. They've been performing. They've been motivated. They've been like just handling things. And it's given me the freedom. Like I haven't had to worry about it. I haven't had to ask. Their execution has increased so much. And it's allowed me to work on the things that I need to work on.
Yep.
And that is the key, is their intrinsic motivation. Do people have the desire to grow? Do they have the ability and the capacity to think differently, to show up and to execute at a high level?
Yeah.
Right? And are they empowered? Do they have ownership to go do that? Ownership comes from, the owners giving them ownership, right? Leadership saying, I trust you, you got this. Are they bought in? And also, do they believe? Ownership has to do with certainty. Do I believe that I have what it takes to go get it done? Not because if I don't go get this done, I'm going to lose my job, because that's fear-based motivation.
Correct.
And the reason, again, circling back why I wanted to have this podcast is because we have to be like hawks, y'all. If you guys want to be transformational leaders, you want to be people who are multiplying when the rest of the world is contracting, which is what I believe we're called to do. This is the prime time. Question, are you contracting or are you multiplying while everyone else is contracting?
That's the whole point, right? Like, if you want to survive this, okay, then roughly keep doing what you're doing and keep cutting.
Yeah.
Right?
Keep cutting. We're not surviving anything.
Keep surviving, right? But if you want to actually be on the thriving end of the spectrum or a lot closer to it, then you got to focus on multiplication.
You got to focus on multiplication. And I'm going to use another example. I went to, and I want to do a state shift little demo, thing, but I went to go see Nicole last weekend, right? One of my friends, Nicole, beautiful lady. She was in coaching industry, built a pretty successful business, recently sold it, coaching business, and, was bought out. She's out now. I'm like, what are you doing with your day? She's like, I'm just relaxing, which is great. She has the time and freedom to explore, and she's going to be teaching people how to evaluate businesses and sell their businesses. But that's not the point. We were going for a hike. And she's like, man, Christine, I got out just in time because the coaching industry has just tanked. Like people are struggling. Nobody's making money. People are getting out. It's so distorted. There's people selling things that they can't deliver on. There's people not delivering. And I looked at her and I said, that's not my reality. In fact, we're growing exponentially. We have clients renewing for the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th year. Our clients are getting transformation. We're getting 9.9 out of 10 NPS scores. Like, we are having so much traction. We're having so much momentum, and we are more aligned than ever. And she's like, yeah, because you do everything different. And I said,
what?
That. And we talked about, she actually put a post about it today on Facebook and on Instagram. I said, we talked about, this is the era of discernment. And her and I had this conversation. It's the ability to discern alignment. Are we in alignment or are we out of alignment? We got to get rid of the dead weight. We got to get rid of the excess, dead, clunky weight. Sometimes that's people. Sometimes that's products. Sometimes that's offering. When people say pruning, it's almost like what we're hearing is like, oh my God, we need to cut budgets. We need to cut budgets. And yes, there's a time to prune. Sometimes you got to prune way back. But there's also a state around it. That one is either fear and scarcity and like, oh crap, right? And there's a contraction. Or there's like, we are pruning this baby so we can make it light, streamlined, effective. Let's go.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And it makes me think about, like, when you want speed and efficiency, you need to be light. So I wanted to bring that up because whether people are deciding to invest, you can choose to invest in your teams and your business and doubling down on the things that are working. You want to get rid of the stuff that's not working. Not be like, oh my gosh, we can't afford to invest in what's working. What?
Everybody should be doging right now.
Everybody should be looking at, where is this thing heavy? Where is it clunky? Where is there complexity? What is slowing us down? Let's remove, let's prune, let's clean up, and let's double down on investing in the things that increase bandwidth, that increase capacity, that increase performance, right? That increase relationship building. Relationships are the currency of the future.
For sure.
Right? So discernment is knowing what to invest in and what to get rid of. Discernment is being able to recognize, where is this going? Can I look into the future? Do I have any future orientation, or am I just like holding my breath trying to get through right now? Or am I still, my orientation is still the past?
Yeah.
Oh man, oh man, oh man. You know, I just hear so much fear. And I just wanted to say, like, this is the year of discernment. Who are the right partnerships? Who are the aligned business partnerships, right? Who are the aligned leaders that you get to have on your team? Like, we look at everything from people to services to product, and we want total integrity.
Integrity and alignment.
Integrity and alignment. And then get rid of the dead weight, right? And I want to go back to what we were saying about perspective shifting, because I have this image all the time, and I'm getting out of ag for a minute, because sometimes when all you see is like your day, it's hard to relate. But I often I always use this analogy of, like, you are one of those people that loves theme park rides and like whatever, right? Like whitewater rafting or roller coasters or crazy drops or whatever, or you're the person that freaks out and think you're going to die and there's no way that you're going to do this stuff, right? But I use this analogy to kind of go, okay, there's people that are waiting in line. Imagine that there's this ride, and it's like the best ride of your life. You know, it's like, it's going to be the best ride of your life. After you get off this thing, you're never going to be the same. You're confident. You're going to get off this thing and you're going to have like next level confidence. Your boldness is going to go so much higher. Your capacity to handle difficult things is going to be so much better. And this can also be the most terrifying ride of your life, right? And so you can't see, maybe it's one of those rides where you can't see exactly what's going to happen, but you're standing in line. And there's really two types of people. There's the people who are like, hell yeah, let's go, baby. Bring it on. Bring it on. I have no idea what's coming up, but I'm down. Let's go.
They're waiting for the front row seat. They're waiting for the
front row seat, or maybe the back row, so they can get even more of the experience. But they're anticipating what's going to be epic. They're looking for the things that are going to be amazing. Their focus is on how much, like, the heck yeah, and how they're going to feel when they walk off. Then there's the other types of people that are sitting there, like, basically holding the fact that they're about to pee their pants. They're just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. They're already having the near-death experience just standing in line, because their brain is so focused on all the things. The drop is going to be too steep. Oh my God, this is going to go wrong. Oh my God, I'm probably going to have a heart attack. Oh my God. And it's just like, they're already experiencing the reality of everything that they're afraid of while they're waiting in line. And so, does the ride suck? Maybe. But you know what sucks worse? Waiting.
Yeah. And white-knuckling the whole time.
Waiting in line. And all the stuff that they're thinking and feeling while they're sitting there waiting for the shoe to drop. Waiting for the thing. And
waiting to see what's going to happen.
Waiting to see how terrible it's going to be. And the question that I wanted to have here is, it comes down to identity. It's like, which person are you?
Wow.
There's another analogy I use. I used to do Spartan races back in the day. I love those adventure races. And there used to be like the walls, you know, you had to scale the walls and do the rope climb and whatever it was, whether it was burpees or the rope climb or the walls. Again, it was similar. There'd be people who'd run up there and they wouldn't even try the wall. They would just do the burpees or the little thing on the side so that they didn't have to try. They would just like do the bare minimum. Then there was people that would just like attack the wall and they're like, I'm going to get it, you know, and they were going after it and they had trained for it. You're trained for this moment. Okay.
Right.
But they were excited. They were like, bring it on. I will climb that wall. I will scale that beep. You know, they're like, I am going to conquer this, to your point. I walk knowing I'm already on the other side of that thing. And when I get on the other side, I'm victorious as I run up to it.
Correct.
And then there's people, this is the third person that maybe wasn't in the line of the roller coaster. There's these people that just stand there and go, oh my God, it's so steep. It's so, I can get over it, but it's going to be hard. I can get over it, but man, it's going to be challenging, but we'll get over it. We'll get over it. And do you know what happens to that person when they're trying to scale the wall? Physiologically, this is science. Okay, this is not Christine. Science says that what you think and what you speak, your body responds to. So what happens? Their grip actually gets weaker. So it becomes harder to hold on to either
when
the
you
rope,
have the negative,
when you
the
have the
questioning
negative
mindset.
self-talk, when you're saying, man, this is going to be hard. We'll get through it, but it's hard. I know it's going to be hard. It's hard. Oh my God, I'm so tired. I can get over it. But there's like this conflicting, wishy-washy dialogue that happens that the body is always responding to. So what actually happens is your body gets weaker. Your strength goes down. Your endurance goes down. Your ability to see what's on the other side goes down. So by the time you do scale that wall, you know what happens? You're so freaking tired.
Yeah.
You can't run.
Yeah. Wow.
And so I wanted to share some of these different frames because be very careful of how we're going into this season.
Yeah. Because as we're going through the season, for the person standing here in line, or actually on pretty much on the ride at this point, like you still have the ability to speak over yourself from two different versions, right? You can have the more negative self-talk. You can be like, hey, this is going to be rough. It's going to suck. We know we're going to get through it. At the end of the day, farmers are always going to put a crop in the ground. They're always going to need to get that stuff from somewhere. They might as well get it from our company, right? Like that's one way, right? Or it's like, hey, like this is the time. This is what we've been training for.
Yeah, exactly. This is what we've been training for. Will you be the people who rise to the top of the crop, or are you going to be the ones that are just, again, doing what everyone else does? So I wanted to jump on here because it's really, I think, a call to rise. Like, I know that we want to work with leaders who are innovating, who are stepping up, doing things different, doing what's required, but not doing it from a place of like, oh, shoot, but doing it from a place of victory. And so I said, like, I've taught about human behavior, mindset, psychology, the physical body, high performance for a long time. And those of you listening, I'm a faith-based coach, which means everything that I teach is also biblical. So what you don't have to be a Christian to know this or not, but it's also biblical. We have a blueprint for how to succeed during hard times.
Yeah.
And there is so much written about the power of our thoughts and what we choose to think about, and whether or not our thoughts align with our language and how our language creates our reality. So this is not woo-woo. This is not some new agey whatever. This is scientifically proven through neuroscience and psychology and a whole host of research studies. This is also biblical. So like at this point, I think if we just go, oh, whatever, then ignorance is not bliss.
Yeah. Well, and just since you brought up biblical, I think about some of the battles that you and I talk about, right? The most famous battles in the Bible, David versus Goliath, the Battle of Jericho, right? Gideon and his 300 men. None of the battles are won by doing it the same old way.
Correct.
Right? I always think about this, like David, David's like, I'm in, I'll go fight the guy, and Saul's like, you can't go out there like that. Here, wear my armor, right? So he starts putting on Saul's armor, right? To go do it his way. Right? And David's like, I can't move, right? I can't do it the old way. Like, you just have to let me go do it my way. He goes and gets 5 smooth stones, and he's got his sling, and he knows exactly what to do because that's how he killed the bear and that's how he killed the lion. So, to come back to that, like none of these things are done the traditional old way. And I feel like a lot of the folks that I'm talking to right now, like they're just trying to muscle through doing things the same old way. And if I may, before I pass it back over to you, this is a really crucial moment. I'm going to just say this over the ag industry right now. A lot of us are, the entire industry, quite frankly, is operating in reaction to what's happening in Washington, D.C., is operating in reaction to things that are being said about it, told to it, and eventually will be, in many cases, are dictated for it, right? And when I was coming up as an FFA member in 1996, 97, 98, growing up in Minnesota, there was a call in the ag industry for people to recruit people like me to want to be a part of it because the mission was to feed the world. I've said this on other shows, but I'm going to say this again because it's highly relevant for what's going on right now and during this correction. If there's a correction, there's a reason for it. And it's not just that we're bloated in the markets, right? It's not, there's more to, I believe that there's more to this. I believe it's highly spiritual. But what was coming up when I was coming up through my high school years and my college years, the call the mission of the ag industry is feed the world. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's still true. We're still
Mm-hmm.
feeding the world. We're doing a damn good job of it.
Mm-hmm.
In many cases, too good.
Mm-hmm.
That's another problem. I don't want to go down that rabbit trail today. We've, for the most part, done that, right? Food is not as scarce as it was
Mm-hmm.
20, 30 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
right? We have more of a distribution problem today, an allocation problem than we do a production problem. We're making food. The challenge for the agriculture industry right now that I put out there for someone to step up and solve, and somebody to step up to the plate or step up to the podium and say, what is the call today? What is the rallying cry?
Mm-hmm.
As we go through this correction, I think this is the time for somebody or some company or some group or special interest group or somebody to step up and say, hey, this is who we're about. Maybe it's about nutrition now, not just yield. Right?
Correct.
Who's gonna step up and say, like, our job is to provide the nutrition, not food, not just stuffing stuff in boxes and putting stuff in freezers. I'm talking like we're here to provide the nutrition, right?
Mm-hmm.
To be the most to provide the nutrition that people need to thrive, as opposed to just not go hungry.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, it's the same thing as we want to grow. The purpose of a company is to be profitable. Grow. But
Right.
how?
Yeah.
Growth at what cost?
Yeah.
Right. So I think that as we evolve, and we have also evolved in consciousness, and we evolve as leaders, I think it's not just about feed the world, but how.
Mm-hmm.
How will we do this?
And how well?
What is the how is determined by our character. It's determined by our values. And I think also when we have been in a lot of these industries, ag, maybe healthcare, finance, education, all of them, we've done a lot of amazing things. And also we've done a lot of amazing things. And this is not to take anything away. And it's also time to innovate. It's time for us to get in integrity. It's not like we'll get it at all costs, but we want to do it in a way that is actually thriving, right? Creating thriving bodies, not sick bodies. Because if we're doing that, but we're doing it out of integrity, then we're missing the mark. And this is really where my heart's for. And it goes back to like what you were saying about David. I'm going to circle back because a huge piece about this right now, this podcast is about mindset. It's about perspective shift. It's about looking ahead. What do you want to be part of going forward? Do you get to be a pioneer or a forerunner in that? This identity. It's like, it doesn't, by the way, you don't have to be the CEO of an organization to say, you know what, I'm going to be a champion. We have champions all the time saying, you know what, I'm going to shift the way we think inside of our organization. I'm going to go be the champion that teaches my farmers and my clients to think differently. I'm going to be a champion of change inside my organization. I'm going to be a champion of the way we do things differently in the industry. And I'm hearing this at every level, from people who are just starting out and not leading any teams to people who are leading teams to the CEOs of companies. And as we go back, David, when he slayed Goliath, he already knew he was king. But at the time, he was just a shepherd boy. But in his head, he already knew, because the call had already been made. The anointing, he already got anointed, right? As king by that time.
Correct, yeah.
So in his mind, he's like, yo, I'm a king. But no, he was just a little kid with some, he was 14 at the time, or 13 or 14, with a sling and some stones. But he operated with the identity of a king aligned to his future. And there was still another 25 years after that of trials that he had to go through before he actually got the seat, the throne, and where he got to rule in that new space for another 3 decades or whatever, right? But so it's like, are we going to operate today in the identity and the call of the future, to your point? Or are we going to wait until everybody else does, and then we're on the back end of it? Or are we like, oh, well, I'll do that when everything else settles down? Because that's a distortion of identity. And again, that's like trying to drive the car forward and you keep bumping it in reverse. And I use these different analogies of the car driving and the roller coaster and the climbing wall and David, because we got to get our thinking outside of our regular river. Yes, I know you guys, this is an ag podcast, but the problem is that if all you ever talk about is how it's done in ag and what everybody's doing, your brain's neural pathways are already wired of how to think in that space.
Right.
So as we start using examples that are outside of your industry, where else are people experiencing hardship? What would you say to someone in another industry? Let's use a different example. All of a sudden, it's like, boom, your brain gets a shift in reality. Now it's able to think differently.
Yeah.
So I even want to challenge some of you, instead of sitting around and just being so focused about ag, get yourself out and say, well, what else? If I was facing something challenging or that felt like it was constricting, what would I do in that situation? Or if this was a friend, start challenging yourself to think differently. We got to start becoming masters at asking better questions.
Yeah. Well, and I think we got to get ourselves in rooms and around each other, around other people from other spaces to start considering outside ideas and ideologies and see how that impacts our thinking.
Yeah. For sure.
I think that has really, being in rooms outside of the ag space has certainly impacted my thinking. I remember the very first time I left the country for real. Like I got hired by no longer exists, interestingly enough, USAID, to go teach leadership to kids in Macedonia when I was like 24. And so I spent a lot of time over there over the course of 2 years on that assignment. And, I just felt so lucky, right? As a young person, young professional, getting to go do my love, go do teaching and training, my anointing, and go practice that in such an interesting setting. But I never thought about America from their perspective. But when I spent a lot of time with them and asking them questions and getting to know, like, how do they perceive us? Right? Like, well, there were some camps that love it. Like these are young budding entrepreneurs. They want to be like America. They want to create that there. And then there are some that are like this is the beginning of the Iraq war. And so there were some that had a less than positive opinion, about some of the things that we were doing internationally. It was the first time in my life I had my beliefs challenged because I believed everything that we did here was right and just.
Yes.
Right. And it turns out that wasn't true. So I had to consider, like, oh, well, what does that mean for me as a leader? What does that mean for how I lead my family, my business, et cetera? Certainly been challenged on all those things, but you got to get outside the room that you're used to being in to be able to see it different.
Yeah. You need to be around people that challenge your belief system. Yeah. I mean, then that goes back to mindset again.
Correct.
Right. It's like, it comes back because your mindset is the set of beliefs and operating systems that are currently running 95% of your decisions and your actions. And so everybody loves to be surrounded by people who think like them, look like them, talk like them, walk like them, sound like them. And I mean, that could be a great thing, I guess, if you're in the pocket where you are innovating and you're creating and you're seeing the growth, you're seeing the transformation. And so, yes, who are the people in your life that really challenge your thinking? I mean, kids are some of the best people, honestly, to get around because they ask us questions. They're like, duh, why are you doing it that way? Have you ever thought about this? And children are great. They have childlike wonder. And even though they may not have the right answer, what it does, it ignites a spark. Getting in different rooms, getting around coaching, and also, yes, up-leveling our circles. And this is why I love whether it's Thriving Leader, whether it's Summit for our mid-level management, or our executive circle, our roundtable. It's like getting in the room with people who are zigging when everyone else is zagging, who are saying, what else is going on? What are you doing that's new? What are you doing that's different? Right? Yeah. And it's leading from a visionary standpoint, not trying to run away from a problem or trying to survive and hunker down for a problem, And so not everybody's there. There's still a lot of people that fires come and go all the time. We have to learn which ones do we put out and which ones do we let burn out on their own, right?
Sure.
But we need to be looking at that. So, just to kind of recap, I wanted to get on here because as we go through times of pressure, of change, of restructuring, of what feels like contraction, we have options for how we're going to be. How are we going to be when that thing feels unpredictable and uncertain, like the roller coaster, or maybe you're on it already? You can decide right now, effective immediately, I'm going to consider this one ride of a lifetime. And this is going to be an opportunity, not a really hard thing, but this is going to be an opportunity for me to learn what it's like to have a great time in the process, to experiment, to play, to try new things. This is an opportunity for me to grow in capacity, to grow in character, to have even more solid boundaries, to refine and cultivate discernment, to get rid of things faster instead of holding on to them so they're dead weight. Yeah. It's not a hard thing that you're going to get through. It's an opportunity to take advantage of, advance into the land that I've called you. right?
Yeah,
Like this
come
is
on.
one of our big things. Like when Joshua and
Yeah,
Caleb
yeah.
went into the land and God was calling them, he's like, go into the land that I have prepared for you. Oh, by the way, there's giants there, but don't you worry about them.
Yep.
The battle belongs to me. But be strong, be courageous, don't be afraid, because it's already yours, but you're gonna have to fight for it.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's like
we fight from victory.
But we fight from victory. We fight from the identity that's like, man, I was made for this time. I was made for this. And this is where great leaders are made.
Here's the thing, like, like people got to eat. So at the end of the day, like the ag industry is going to come through this in some way, shape, or form. The question is going to be, are you going to white knuckle your way through this? You're going to sit there feeling nauseous and pee in your pants while you stand in line waiting to get on the ride, or while you ride the ride, right? And survive it. Or are you going to shift perspective? Yeah. And I'm thinking about, right, as you're saying all this, I'm thinking about me going through COVID, right? Through the 2020, I white knuckled the whole thing. Like 2020, 2021, and it sucked.
Yeah,
right.
A lot of people did.
A lot of people did, but I mean, in our space, in the live event training coaching space, like I don't looking back on it now, I'm very critical of myself. The 5 years ago version of myself, I did not handle it well, right? And I made a lot of bad decisions during that time frame as a result. That put me in a less than desirable financial position in the business, and had to make some really hard calls, had to lay everybody off, and right. And that was those 5 years ago. Right now, we were going through it and wondering, how are we going to make it? And the reality is, like, we came out of that a lot different, right? There's a lot of pruning and everything that the one of the great things that did come out of it for us, everything got pruned that was no longer aligned.
Everything has to go that's no longer aligned, period. And like, disclaimer, I just had somebody call and reach out to me last week and want to work together. And I said, are you sure? Are you ready? Because it's going to be the most amazing ride. And it's going to be what's on the other side is so great. I wish it's amazing, right? Aligned partnerships, aligned relationship with your wife, like the right people on the bus. And it's not going to be fun for a minute, but it's going to be still be like, come on, let's go. And that's the attitude. And so as we kind of start to wrap, one of the things I wanted to say, it sounds great. Like, okay, I need to shift perspective. Well, we already talked about, get in the room, sign up for coaching, reach out. If you really want to see things differently, you need to get in a proven process that shows you that. You need to create a different structure around you. So that means you need disciplines, right? So you can't just expect that tomorrow you're going to wake up and do the same thing that you did yesterday, and all of a sudden you're going to have a different attitude. It actually doesn't work that way. It starts with a decision to have a different attitude and the discipline. So that means, what are you going to fill your head with first thing in the morning? Are you going to answer your phone, or are you going to read the word of God? Are you going to pray? Are you going to worship? Are you going to listen to some motivational leadership, talk or music? Like, what are you going to do to infuse yourself top of the day? What is your protocols going to be throughout the day to make sure that when your mind goes wandering and you listen to everybody else talking garbage, you can get centered again? Like, this is what we do, right? You have to discipline yourself to stay in the place where your head's right, where your talk is right, where your actions match the victory, instead of, otherwise you're just going to be like getting tossed about all day long. You wake up, we have great intentions. Okay, I'm going to change my attitude. Tomorrow we're going to do perspective shift. Great. The heart's intention's good. Intention is first. And then we need discipline. We need new structure. We need new protocol.
Discipline.
Yeah, we need intention and discipline structure to do that.
Well done. Well done. Incredibly well stated all the way through. Good stuff. August 19 and 20. There's a Thriving Leader event in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. The night before, on the 18th of August, it's a Monday night, there's going to be a round table event. We've been talking about doing this for a long time.
Yep.
We're finally pulling the trigger on
Finally
this.
doing it.
The night before, you got to be a CEO or a VP to be in the room. You got to have a significant amount of leadership, either an organization or a large team under your command. People that you're influencing to be in the room, but it's an invite only situation.
Yeah.
And so
Application.
This will be an application and invite only situation. This will be a room that you want to be in though, because we're going to be together for an entire evening. There'll be sharing, there'll be eating,
challenging questions,
but we're going to
roundtable discussions, and we really are intentional about curating a room, because sometimes it's hard. Let's be honest. It's like, where do I find those people that think differently? What are the conversations I should be part of? And so one of the things that I'm excited about is creating opportunities like this where people can get in the room that is very intentionally curated. And there is a framework and a structure for them to have dialogue, to think differently, to challenge some of the beliefs, and share some really innovative best practices that are happening as well.
Yeah, beautiful. It's going to be good. I was just on our summit call the other day with our group of guys. And this is a little bit different group of guys, but some similar people in the roles. And one of the guys was going around, and as everybody was sharing their wins from the call, and he's like, "This room right here is full of winners. Like, nice. We get around each other, we support each other, we mastermind, with each other, and over the years that group has really grown." And it's true. There's a lot of winners in that room. It's going to be the same. Just an evening of bringing the people who like to win, who want to win, but that are open to looking at things from a different angle, want to be around other people that are thinking about the same things. And probably hear from, I'm guessing they're probably going to get to hear this talk that you've been talking about.
Effective immediately,
the new keynote.
If you want to be a more powerful decision maker that is making decisions from a place of alignment, from freedom, from fulfillment, from forward thinking, then I highly encourage you to click on the link, apply to be in that room with us that night, and we'll jump on a call with you.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll see you guys on the next one.